Hi everybody, welcome back to the Bumpkin News. Today is May the 3rd, 2011. We received the word about Osama bin Laden being killed, and we want to look at the question of this and how it concerns Mr. Obama. You know, we received a phone call yesterday, and the caller asked what we thought about these events. You know, the one good thing about it, where we can compliment Mr. Obama, and what is really amazing about this is that he was able to keep a lid on this. One errant word and this wouldn't have happened. It's an amazing thing. The people and the time involved in this is simply, it's astounding that it was able to bring this off. If Osama bin Laden had doubted at all that he was in mortal danger, you can be sure that he wouldn't have been at that place at that time. We understand that he had been there for 5 or 6 years. No doubt he felt like he was in a safe haven in Pakistan, and so that we feel is commendable. On the other hand, everything else is practically totally wrong and totally reprehensible and questionable. This event raises more questions than it answers. The question it answers is, where is Osama bin Laden? He's at the bottom of some ocean or sea. That question is answered now. There's many questions that are not answered. First of all, Mr. Obama, he doesn't have a grasp of the dimensions of the presidency, and what we mean by that is when the president speaks, he comes before that United States president seal, that podium with that seal. Anything he talks about is elevated to the very highest level. There's a great amount of dignity involved with the President of the United States. This Osama bin Laden was a murderer. He was a terrorist, and to elevate him to that high level, I think, was beneath the dignity of the office of President. I believe that the Secretary of Defense should have announced this death and not given it such a high standing. I think that would have been proper and appropriate. But we have a president that is a narcissist, and he wants to put himself front and center on this, no doubt a big political consideration. And in doing so, I watched as much as I could stand of Obama's pronouncement on this issue, and he took about 95% of the credit for it. So virtually total responsibility for this that has been done, and put himself front and center at the head of this. And a lot of people, they're jumping up and down, they're celebrating or have been. He asked me, do I celebrate this? No. It's a sad thing when a human being is killed, and in this case, you say, are you glad that Osama bin Laden is dead? Again, it's a sad thing when it can be said that the world is better off without a human being. I think he deserved his just reward. In that sense, yes, it's a good thing that he's dead, he's gone, he's paid his debt to humanity, and in that, yeah. But on the other hand, we've got a tremendous problem with this president. Okay, let me ask some questions about those that celebrate and think this is a very great thing. Do you believe in capital punishment? Do you believe that a person should be summarily executed without a trial? Do you believe, and now the precedent has been set, do you believe in the principle that the United States has the right and has the authority to enter a sovereign nation at which we are not at war and execute people in that country in military operations? Well, chew on those questions for a while, and if you have the answer to it, please respond with a comment or a video on that, because what we have here, we have a president who is a gross hypocrite, first of all, and being a former editor of the Harvard Law Review, it's astounding that he could take credit, much less authorize such a mission as this. And this just didn't happen overnight, this operation. Where was the intelligence gained? What methods were used to obtain it? You know, we had recently we have to try all these detainees at Guantanamo Bay. They have to have their rights and human rights, and we hear all these things. And yet now we have a person that has been virtually assassinated without any consideration for a trial or rights. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, this person, Osama bin Laden, has gotten his just desserts. But you know what? I think if he could have been targeted in Afghanistan, or if in a war zone, in a country in which we were legitimately there, rather than a sovereign country, I don't have much of a problem with that. You know, if you go back in military history, the United States did not, and sniping has had a bad name for centuries and centuries and centuries, but the United States really didn't authorize that, as far as my recollection goes, until the Vietnam War. And then we developed sniper teams and sniper units to conduct operations. In a war zone, I believe that is legitimate. I believe that's an activity of war, but without a declaration of war, without the participation of another government, that has to be a violation of international law. That one country can conduct military operations in another country just because they say that this is what we are going to do, and we're big enough and bad enough to do it. You know, the left for years and years and years, they had the saying, might does not make right, and we have to agree with that. Might does not make right. And you know, they used that same argument in the Nuremberg trials against the mass killers of Nazism. But look back at that. That was internationally sanctioned. These men were criminals. They had a fair hearing, a fair trial. Evidence was presented. Many of them were executed. Many others received prison sentences. There's no problem with that. But to do it without any trial whatsoever, and yet we say those ones at Guantanamo Bay, they do not deserve to be turned over to the military. They deserve a trial and constitutional guarantees. Oh my. And Mr. Obama said he was going to close Guantanamo Bay because this just wasn't right. And many of the things that were in place before that he and others on the left denigrated, yet those are the very things that they are using, that they have used in this. What is Mr. Obama basically? He's a lawless rabble-rouser, has no regard for the law. Only when it suits his ends, his purposes, does he want to bring the law into play. you know what a mob does. A mob executes its justice irrespective of the legal system, process, the due process of law. In other words, let's say it like this: if someone kills my wife and it was a heinous murder, heinous crime, do I have the right to seek that person out and kill him myself? You may say, you know, on a moral ground, yes, if I could find that person and was absolutely certain, without a doubt, that he did do this heinous crime. You know, we see movies, Western movies, where I think one was The Outlaw Josie Wales, where Clint Eastwood hunted and tracked down the killers of his wife and family and those that burned his homestead down. Morally, yeah, but in civilization, if we have regard to the law, we let the law take care of those things. So here we have an example of someone that is supposed to be, as a matter of fact, Mr. Obama said one time that he taught constitutional law for quite some time, and again, editor of the Harvard Law Review, but acts completely outside the law in this regard. And you've got people praising him and jumping all over the place about this. It kind of reminds me of the mob, a mob that had been incited with something like this. Where was due process involved in this? Again, like I say, if it was in an area of legitimate military operations, we have the Geneva Conventions, and what do again, the law, you know, we need to go by the law. What does the Geneva Convention say? If you precipitate a military attack, an act of war, without a proper military uniform, then you can, and if you're captured, you can be executed summarily if you're caught without any recognizable military uniform or part thereof. And that's what we're running into in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Both places we went in with UN sanction. In other words, the world said, okay, we'll back you up on this, we'll go along with this, but yet we're encountering people that are committing acts of war without any recognizable military uniform. This is terrorism. But in other places that we are not at war with, and there is no declaration of war, I don't think this is condoned by anything in the Geneva Convention or in international law. Something like that, we would need permission of the sovereign country, and the person would, after that was obtained, the person would have to be captured, and if in the process of capturing offered resistance, then killing that person, in my opinion, would be legitimate.